Welcome back to the show, everyone. I am having a few technical issues on my side because I am still displaced and out of my home and don't have good internet. But anyway, on that note, we're just going to move
And
forward.
and you're feeling what?
Oh, do I want to censor myself or do I want to be honest with it?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Really
it's not my
annoying.
general mood, Dana.
Yes. Okay. Oh, nice segue. Yeah. So I was thinking more because we actually started taping this episode and we had some issues and had to start over. Now I've got my thoughts clear, so it's all good. So feeling, I think, very situational. I think not as long lived, that kind of thing. Mood would be something that's a little bit longer. It can still be situationally driven, but it's a little bit more pervasive, might last days, that kind of thing. And then identity based kind of affect things are like, who are you as a person? What kind of filters do things tend to go through? These are just examples, optimistic, not optimistic, in a engaging mood, not an engaging mood, those longer term things. And we know people in our lives that, you can think of in that regard. But feelings and what's going on in the environment all filter through that sense of your identity and who you are, right? Why are we talking about this today? Because it's important for you to know what your identity is in terms of how you see the world in terms of affect or feelings. And then also know that feelings are really driven by situation, right? A little bit, there's interplay with who you are as a person, but that mood thing, I was telling Gwen earlier, I just woke up and just you have one of those days where nothing works. You drop the soap a million times in the shower. I couldn't get the toilet paper roll to go the right way. Yesterday, I couldn't get my printer to work. That would be more of an overall mood. I hear people talking about the state of this country right now and this low level pervasive sense of fear and worry that's lasting longer. So even though it's situationally based, because it's lasting longer, that's more of a mood kind of thing, right? So if you think of mood being like, feeling is like each little folder file in a drawer. Mood is the drawer, and the whole file cabinet is your identity. So what's going on at any given time? Is it unique to you, or is it understandable for the situation or whatever? And then there can be other layers on that as well. But you can not just change a feeling on a dime when there's something. Let's say something really sad happens. You're not going to just force yourself to be happy, right? Because it gets into that little secondary one called mood, where it's likely to be more pervasive. The organizing structure affects more than just the feeling, right?
Yeah.
If I'm eating something I totally love, and in the moment I'm like, oh, this is so happy, that probably more of a feeling, right? And then a little bit longer term, like if you lose somebody, if you're in a grieving stance, that depressive mood might stay a little bit longer, right? If you come into therapy and your identity self is more a depressed person or more of an anxious person, and this really does sort of bear up in most of the literature, there are people that they think the genetics really drive a high propensity towards, or a way of looking at the world that's more depressive, right? Not going to be realistic to get rid of that completely, but then how can that person be aware of feelings and mood as it sort of feeds into that and maybe worsens that? You kind of need to know which level of separation you're dealing with, and that helps you get some insight in how to deal with it, right?
Yeah, I love this. It again, like we talk a lot about organizing principles, frames,
Mm-hmm.
how to understand something. And when we have a way to understand big things or ambiguous things, it really does
Mm-hmm.
help us feel more empowered, right?
Yeah.
So this idea of feeling mood identity, right? Feeling quick, short-lived, usually triggered by something specific that's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mood, more of a state that
Mm-hmm.
lasts longer. It's not always tied to something specific,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just kind of a more longer lasting state, a
Yeah.
feel,
Yeah.
right? Identity, it's really long term. It's like
Yeah.
it's not only based on like my experiences, but like my culture,
Yeah.
my
Yeah. Yeah.
values, my memories. And when you were saying
Yeah.
like for some people right now, if their mood might be more scared,
Hmm.
discouraged, depressed because of the state of the world, that is
Hmm.
probably related to their identity,
Yeah.
because there are plenty of people right now
Right.
who are feeling really great about the state of the world and
That's
their
right.
mood is
That's right.
very up and happy,
Yep.
and they're on top of the world. And so the you're knowing how to understand things, especially like we see people when they're like losing their minds in public, that's a
Hmm.
feeling.
Hmm. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. I was thinking of the bike thing that I've mentioned. Going to buy a bike, first place I went, it didn't work out. I left there feeling annoyed, but sort of more dejected and like sad. And then the longer mood was sort of, oh God, this is going to be such a pain. There's proof that it's going to be a pain. And then the identity piece, once I realized, was like, I don't put up with this crap. I don't do that. Screw you. I'm going to figure out a way. But I needed to stay in that kind of this isn't going to work place. And as soon as no, I don't do that. I don't put up with that. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to advocate harder for myself now. So the disparity in mood or feelings with who you are can be really helpful too if you know there's an incongruence there.
Yeah.
And instead of getting down on myself for not advocating the first time, it's like, okay, that was a situation that happened. Let's try something new. If this doesn't work, I'll try something beyond that because it was really important to me to get a new bike. I'm into it, right? I don't want to give up on that. If it's just something like going to a restaurant, I was totally psyched about the dessert and it wasn't that good. It's probably not going to affect me that much. It's not part of what's really important to me. If I have a particular dessert I've been researching for a year and it involves a trip to France and I'm excited about it, you can see where that disappointment's going to hook into who you are a little more and be a little harder to get over that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's
like
more
back to,
meaning making too.
yeah. And like for you too, like part of your identity is as a cyclist.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's
You
right.
cycle as part of your
Yeah.
identity, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something you value tremendously. It gives you
Yeah.
lots of things back to you. You do it
Hmm.
daily. I mean, it's
Yep.
part of your life, your daily life. And so
That's right.
when you go and you're like, wow, my bike is 18 years old and I'm going to do something for myself that's really
Yeah.
nice, and
Yeah.
it's really in line with who I am and what I really enjoy and how I
Hmm.
like to spend every day of my life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
someone says, "No, we can't make that happen for you."
Yeah, you can see why it really hit me hard. Yeah, yeah,
There's
that's right.
it's identity wise, that is a tough
Hmm.
pill to swallow.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Um
yep.
The other thing too, Dana, is like if you can identify that this is a feeling, then
Hmm.
then you automatically know this will pass.
Exactly.
Like,
Yes. Yeah.
wait, like just
Yep.
take a moment and let the feeling pass, because we know
Yeah.
that's what feelings do. We know that
Yep.
they build in search and then drop,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Right? And
Exactly.
so that idea of, you know what, this is a feeling and it's temporary.
Yeah. Right.
Let this
Yeah.
pass and
Yeah.
then let me make a decision.
Which is exactly what I did. I came home. I was bummed. I was like, all right,
Right.
reorganize, rethink. Yeah. Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now, let's add another layer to this.
Mm.
What if you were in a down what if you were in a down mood or a depressed mood,
Yeah. If my
let's just
mood
say,
were,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
now you have that layer. So you've
yeah.
got your value of being a cyclist, but you've just
Hmm.
been feeling down for a few weeks,
Yeah.
let's just say.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
then you go to the shop. Maybe it's even hard to get to the shop because been feeling
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Now you can also see why, wow, that feeling of rejection,
Yeah. It's
whatever,
going to knock the wind out of your sails pretty
gonna
quickly
completely knock
because
the wind out.
yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
I think, like, this kind of idea, it reminds me that the image that pulls up for me is like concentric circles, of
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
of identity at the core, right? Your
Yep.
mood state and then maybe your feeling state, let's just say.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you guys we don't want to be overwhelmed by our feelings. Our feelings are information, but we don't want to be overwhelmed by
Hmm.
them.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
mood and the identity give us the context for them, to
Yeah. Right.
understand
Right.
them a little bit more. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is what therapy is for.
Yeah, and I remember in therapy when I finally took like over a year, let myself really fall into, because it felt like that, an absolute fear. Well, my therapist called it terror, a terror
Mhm.
state. The thing that got me there was to know that that was going to be temporary, right? I had seen other people do it in a psychodrama workshop that I was at, and they would go to these very deep places, have a feeling, and then the facilitators would bring them back, and they would be back to their identity self. They weren't going to, and people that say, I feel like if I feel my feelings, I'm going to go crazy.
Mhm.
They're thinking it won't end. It'll
Yep.
just keep going. I'll end up in a rubber room somewhere.
Yep.
And you won't. I mean, 99.9% of people won't. What takes you to the rubber room is not dealing with it. Eventually, it'll catch you. But that's a good example of that too, where you know it's temporary, and you know that even if you have an overall mood that makes fans the flames more while you're working through it, that will dissipate some. Your mood will change as your feelings change and as your identity changes as well. You'll start to see things differently. Right?
I
So,
really like that point, Dana. So many people do not want to allow the
mm-hmm,
feeling to happen because they are terrified that they are
mm-hmm.
going to be completely overwhelmed by it. And I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
see this a lot with anger
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and
Scary.
how people
Yeah.
don't want to give into anger because they have
Mm-hmm.
done things in
Yeah,
anger that have been
yeah.
very dangerous and violent
Destructive.
and
Yeah, yeah.
destructive. And so, you know, does that mean that we don't talk about
Mm-hmm.
anger? No,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do
Mm.
we
Yeah.
create the space to explore that anger in a
Yep.
way that's not destructive, right? But
Yeah.
just knowing that happens for you is great. I actually see that
Yeah.
when we diminish or dismiss anger, I see this a lot in like families or even
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
couples sometimes, or relational kind of more relational work, where it's like, a parent or a child, I'm usually talking about adults here, so even an adult child
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
parent, where they fight and they have an argument, and then I'll ask, how did it get resolved?
Mm-hmm. And
And
it
they'll be
hasn't.
like, it's just time, right? Because the
Oh, yeah.
feeling the feeling
Yeah.
subsides, so we're no
Yeah.
longer
Yeah.
angry. But we also didn't have any kind of conversation about what the
Yeah.
argument, like why we were in the argument in the first place,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how things were communicated, right? Maybe
Yeah.
hurtful
Yeah.
things were said, or and then we just do it all over again.
Right. If you don't have any insight, for sure. Yeah. Yep.
So, but I don't
Exactly.
know. I mean, for Dana and I, we like to split hairs,
Hmm.
because it's all in the nuance, which is, not a very sexy thing.
Yeah, but very interesting. Right. Yeah.
Sexy for
Yeah.
us, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess, for us, it's really interesting. And that what we find is splitting hairs in this way is
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
helpful to
Yeah,
our
and
clients.
I find it hopeful too, like with
Yes.
what's going on. And if I'm, oh God, there's just some, I'm not going to get into it, but some other stuff going on where I work, where I could go down the rabbit hole and get lost really easily.
Yeah.
But if I can like watch a TV show that's a comfort show and forget about it for a while, then I know it's a feeling, right? If it's a mood or identity state, it just won't go away that easily. And if I know it's a feeling, it's okay sometimes to just be able to get away from it. It's okay to do that, right?
Yeah.
To change that affect state, just move and do something.
Yeah.
So it can be life changing if you can visualize those three different layers of it, because it'll give you some efficacy, self understanding, and more importantly, agency to be able to do something. This is a feeling. I'm going to watch The Martian for the 900th time because it, takes me out of that. Right.
Is
Yeah.
that the one that takes you out of it, Dana?
There's a bunch of them that do, but yeah,
The
yeah,
Martian?
that's one of them. Yeah, just the whole feeling of that, I just adore. Yeah.
For me, it's the Winter Soldier.
Oh, yeah, it's got a kind of that similar mood. Yeah,
I
yeah,
There's a lot of reasons why I love that
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
You know,
Or ones that
but
you haven't seen that you like the genre, like we've talked about, Andor. While
uh
I was watching those episodes, I wasn't thinking about anything else. So it was perfect for that to kind of get you out of that state. Yeah.
the other one for me is The Princess Bride,
Oh, that's a classic. Yeah.
because I can say all the lines and it's
Oh,
hilarious. And
yeah,
someone just
yeah.
shared with me, have you ever seen those, Dana, where people make the actors look like babies? And then the babies are talking. Someone just sent me this clip of the Princess Bride, which
With
is them on
babies.
a ship and they're arguing on the ship.
Oh
Um,
god.
and they're
Oh god, that's
rhyming.
great.
For those of you
Yeah.
that have watched The Princess Bride, you know exactly what I'm talking about
Oh
when they're
god.
rhyming. And at the end, um, he says, "Anyone want a peanut?" And he's holding the
Oh.
baby's holding him a peanut, and I almost lost my
The mi-
mind because it was so cute.
But it's
Anyway,
almost like something like that that is, all of it is almost like it's part of your personality.
so yeah,
And so
the
you get tickled
music,
by these
I
things that,
just
yeah,
love,
oh, you just, yeah. And it's so idiopathic to each and every, like, I love The Devil
but
Wears Prada.
yeah,
Some of the storyline I don't like, but I just love doing things like, why isn't anyone ready? And that just
yeah.
by all means, move at a glacial pace. You know how much that thrills me. It's almost a stim, right? To be able to
Yeah.
say. So yeah, if those things can snap you out of a feeling you're having, awesome. Use
I
them.
like that
Great.
litmus test, Dana. I
Yeah, yeah.
really like that. If you know what, if you can get distracted by something else,
Hmm.
it's a feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
If
Yeah,
things don't distract you from the way, like how the how you're feeling, and I
yeah,
won't say feeling, but they don't distract you from how things
yeah,
like are for you, that's probably mood.
yeah. Or
That's probably
identity.
more of a mood or identity. That's a
Exactly.
great way to do that.
Yeah.
I think the other thing with identity too is if there's something that's, if it feels more principle based, like it's
Yeah, yeah,
offensive to
exactly.
you, it's
Yeah,
probably an
yeah.
identity issue.
It's probably yeah, those huge guiding principles that move you through life. It's probably identity. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
All
Anyway.
right.
All right. Well, friends, feel free to comment below. Maybe I'll direct you, like um you know, did understanding things from, or did the framework of feeling mood identity, did
Yeah.
that clarify anything for you?
Yeah.
You know, if so, like how is that clarifying things for you? We just, for Dana and I, we keep saying, we keep laughing. It's like, it doesn't matter that we're monetized or not. It doesn't matter how many
Yeah.
people listen to our show. If it helps one person, if
Right.
one
It's
minute
all
of one
good.
of our episodes helps one
Yeah.
person, we are happy to do this. And
Yeah.
we thank you
Because
for
that's our
giving us a
identity.
space.
Like
It's our
one
identity.
one good
Yeah.
helping people can fuel me for a year. Yeah. It's all good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right, everyone. We will catch you in the next episode. Be good to you and be good to others. Bye.
Bye.